everybody. It's my Wookiee impression. Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. Why did I do that? Because we're going to talk about Wookiees.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. It is our Monday show, so we're going to talk about the latest going on in Star Wars news. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're new to TRB, welcome. Make sure you subscribe to our show, whether that's on youtube.com/Star Wars Newsnet videos or your preferred podcast app. We are available everywhere. We thank you for joining us. James and Lacey with me, as always. How are you guys doing? James, you recently went to a pretty cool little virtual event talking about the Bad Batch, and you actually got to take a look at a good chunk of the beginning of the season. I know you can't reveal anything because the embargo hasn't lifted, but did you have a good time at the presser? You got to represent us, Star Wars Newsnet. Give us a little rundown on the experience, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they had D. Bradley Baker there really being like the main front, and then a couple other directors and producers and things like that as part of it. And our friend Ash Crossan was moderating. It's kind of neat. It's kind of cool, like behind the scenes look at the series and how they're excited for, and you could ask questions and or just kind of watch. And they talked a little bit about the series and what was ahead. And with that came screeners, you know, for the episode. So I've seen the first episode, which everybody was excited. It is in fact 70 minutes long, which is pretty awesome. And they sent me the second one too. So look forward to reactions and things like that. And actually, I think I might actually put up my first article. I'm joining Lacey on the website as a non-spoiler review to go up May 3rd. So yeah, so look forward to that. So it's pretty cool. And the show's great. Yeah.
Lacey, are you going to be doing your stay up until 3 a.m. thing to watch these, or like you've been doing with a lot of this stuff, or where are you at?
I'm going to be a bad fan right now. I'm not staying up for the show. I'll stay up for Loki, which is coming up, which I'm super excited about. And I've been staying up for the Marvel ones, but this isn't my cup of tea, and that's okay. Did D. Bradley Baker answer in multiple voices, or did he just talk as himself?
He only once went into character as Wrecker when somebody was explaining how sometimes it's difficult as he portrays multiple characters to address him. Like you almost want to address him as this character or that character or his real name. So that
he has to do a take as a certain character. He has to,
Yeah, and it's sometimes confusing. And he said something like, is it D or is it Wrecker? And he was like, I'm right here. You can talk to me. No. So he did his whole thing. So it's cool.
Did anyone ask him if he gets paid per character?
No. That did not come up, but that's a curious
the question I would ask. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would like to ask him, but his agent would probably pop in like, no, we can't answer that.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows what the future is with animated clones, so this may be one of his last hurrahs. Who knows?
I do have a question. Is the Bad Batch saga happening?
B9? the fast saga?
The baddest
the bad
batch
saga?
of them all.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
So if you didn't know what that joke was...
I love that John mocks me when I don't laugh at his jokes, but every time I make a joke, he is straight up silent. He is not only silent, he groans, he rolls his eyes, he keeps his face straight.
It's because you two did this bit a couple weeks ago or last week on the podcast, and you just like went on, and I wasn't a part of it.
On and on for him is like 45 seconds. That's on 45. And on.
We more or less went Han and Han.
This is what I'm talking about. It's just because I don't like Fast and the Furious. It's not you. It's that franchise needs to go away. I'm sorry.
I think it's super fun.
I still have a friend who has one of those cars. He's like almost 40, and he still has one of those cars with the loud exhaust and stuff. And I feel like it's because this franchise still hasn't gone away. I just want those cars.
John, you seem to be dragging this out.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Real quick before we get into Resistance Report, just a reminder to everybody, Make Solo 2 Happen Day is coming back Monday, May 24th. We will be hitting social media. We want you to join us and use hashtag #MakeSolo2Happen to simply just express why you love Solo and why you would love more Solo adventures. If you haven't yet, go back. This past Thursday, we had our interview with John Powell, the composer of Solo: A Star Wars Story. An amazing chat that we had with him. So we really, we always recommend our show at all times, but we really suggest do not miss that one. I often don't always go back and listen or watch the show, but that's one I had to go back because he just fed us so much amazing information, and I don't know what else to say about it. Right, guys? Great interview.
Yeah, lots of fun. And you may or may not have grabbed the opportunity to get the red Make Solo 2 Happen variant as it was on sale last Thursday. So but yeah, more on that stuff coming for Make Solo 2 Happen Day, but just make sure you're ready. And if you wanted to participate in our video we're doing, you have until May 13th to send a 10 to 15 second video as to why you want to see more Solo, and you'll be a part of our special video that we're putting together for Make Solo 2 Happen Day. Just email that to us at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com using Make Solo 2 Happen Day in the subject with your name and attach your video, and you'll be a part of it. So we appreciate that. James, news time is on the starting line. Resistance report.
It's the Resistance.
If you follow news about locations and productions and things like that, or maybe a rumor here and there, it looks like Mandalorian Season 3 is actually going to be starting to shoot sometime soon. And that comes with understanding of the Book of Boba Fett shooting and when it wrapped, and kind of rumors of Mandalorian moving in that space. So we should get looking forward to that. But on the rumor side of what I was talking about, with that information kind of comes the speculation that we might actually see Wookiees. This is coming from a rumored report, if you will, report by Bestman Bulletin. Those guys are in it for the leaks. But they are saying, there may be one or multiple Wookiees headed into Mandalorian Season 3. And just my own personal opinion too, like I think they specified that it's Mandalorian, but who knows, with it being so close to Book of Boba Fett and all these other shows as they're crossing platforms. Maybe I'll let you guys talk a little bit about the possibility that it could be not Mandalorian, but maybe one of these other shows. Any thoughts here? John, I'll go ahead and start with you on this one. I don't know how you feel about rumors and stuff like that, but Wookiees showing up in Mandalorian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as long as people aren't giving me story details, I got to get involved with this stuff because of the site and all that. But Wookiees would be cool to see. I mean, I love Wookiees, and I don't know that I need to see Chewbacca popping up in the Mandalorian and making our universe that much smaller. But seeing all different Wookiees would be kind of cool. I know there were rumors last season of the potential of Wookiees showing up in Season 2. So this is something that's been floating around for a while for whatever reason, whether someone in a costume department caught, art designs or art concept art on the wall somewhere and took a snap of it. We've talked about how that there's so many people involved with making these things work that leaks are easier to come out, and it could come from really anywhere. Not necessarily just people on sets. So it is possible, but to your point, you're right. There's been a lot of mix-up where some people think, oh, this is for this show, when it turns out it's really for this show, just as recently as a location thing. Everyone thought that filming that was going on in England was the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And it was widely reported by a lot of different outlets that was the case, and it just simply wasn't. To the point where even Ewan McGregor had to laugh and say he had to correct his dad and say, "No, Dad, I'm not lying. I am filming in California later this year." So it's possible, like you said, maybe these Wookiees are for something else. Maybe there's Wookiees in Andor. Maybe there's Wookiees in, and it's a Book of Boba Fett. And it's so crazy to think, we are in a content coming out dry spell right now, even though we have the Bad Batch coming in a couple of weeks or a week. But in terms of the live action stuff, it's all being created now, and then next year we're going to get popped with it, and it's going to be all this stuff. So the fact that I think it's almost good that there's so much being made right now, because when there are things that come out like this could be here, this could be there, it makes it harder, or it makes it harder for the leaks to find their place. And I think that's always a good thing. I like when there's confusion, because then we don't know. So I don't know. But the bottom line, I'd love to see some Wookiees.
Yeah.
But not Chewbacca. Save Chewbacca for the Solo return, in my opinion. Or if they do more stuff with, Rey post episode 9. I don't need Chewbacca showing up in Mando. But one thing that I think would be cool, if you're not going to do Grogu, get a little baby Wookiee. That'd be interesting.
A little baby Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
A little baby Wookiee, and everyone be like, "Oh, baby Yoda, goodbye."
Yeah. Lacey, do you have any thoughts on Wookiee showing up, or like the how everything's starting to come together as far as productions and stuff?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm playing off of what John said a little bit with the confusion. Reading a story, I was confused because I was like, okay, but what's the proof? Because they don't have any pictures of the Wookiees. They don't have any. It's just like literally like Wookiees are showing up. To me, is kind of, if I was gonna guess certain creatures to show up in a show, like this would be towards the top of the list because they're just such a well-known creature in Star Wars that people would immediately know what they are, regardless if you're a diehard fan or not. It's kind of like, oh, stormtroopers are going to show up. It's like, of course that thing is going to show up. So I was kind of just like, all right, this seems kind of just like I'm going to make a very obvious guess here. And if they show up, they show up. And if they don't, I can pull the, well, things change, or, oh, it was for a different project. So I kind of like look at these stories as like, maybe they're true, maybe they're not, but lean towards the not because they have literally no proof that this is actually accurate. That being said, if it is true, I would love to see Wookiees in Star Wars. It's like coming home when you see a Wookiee. Like, you just want to hug him. Like, Chewbacca's the best. I agree with John that I wouldn't want to see Chewbacca specifically, because I think every time you pull in a character that we know, especially now in The Mandalorian, it's like every other week they were pulling in characters we all recognize. It made the story, like John said, like get smaller and smaller. Like, we want to see more of the galaxy, more creatures, more characters, new characters. So if you're going to bring a Wookiee in, that's cool, but like make it someone new. Make it a new Wookiee that we can have fun with and enjoy, and maybe connect him back to Chewbacca or someone else in a different way, but don't make it specifically, oh yeah, this is Chewbacca. Because then it turns into the like very connected spider web of Star Wars in a way that it's too connected. Like, there's no way that every single person in the Star Wars universe knows each other. So
yeah,
that's like
even
kind
bring
of
back,
a careful thing.
what's his name from Solo, and like show him like that he got healthier and stuff, like Sagwa,
yeah.
because he looked real bad in Solo. Let's see him well fed and groomed.
Yeah, I actually don't see too much
Ross,
of a difference.
are you in Mandalorian?
Yeah, right.
I don't see too much of a difference between making it an entirely new character and bringing in a lesser unknown Wookiee, like even
Sure.
a popular one like a Black Chrysanthemum or something like that, if they wanted to do it, because in a lot of ways I think the vast majority of people don't know who that character is, so it's new to them. And I know that
I meant more like Chewbacca.
No,
like,
I understand.
Let's not do Chewbacca.
But you're 100% right, Lacey, and that's exactly what I thought too, is that the Wookiees are an easy way for everybody on set to have a good time. It's a fun like, oh, I get to create my own Wookiee character, or whatever. Or I get to work with this guy and come up with how we're going to work through the dialogue and stuff like that. That's fun for all the writers and stuff. And then on top of it, you just know, like, no matter whether it's kind of the similar to Baby Yoda in the sense that, like, just it being the same species alone makes it a massive intrigue piece, and it doesn't even need to be like a special or particularly good character. Like, Baby Yoda's just kind of like moving its head around, and everybody's like, well, that's my favorite character, Wookiees are kind of like that in the sense that just being there or existing on screen, people are like, oh, this is immediately Star Wars, and I love this show, Good pick there. And John,
more creatures.
A point that I had not thought about that I really like that you said is how the leaks are probably going to get more and more confusing as you don't know what project they're for, because we have operated very strongly on like the once a year cycle, like, oh, this is for Force Awakens, oh, this is for Rogue One, oh, this is for The Last Jedi. It's pretty clear all the time when those live action things are. And now, I mean, even with even when it was Mandalorian and the Rise of Skywalker, it was kind of like fairly clear what was going on. But as soon as you start throwing in Ahsokas and Mandalorians and Book of Boba Fett's and Rangers of the New Republic, it's like, I don't know, Wookiees in one of these shows, and then it doesn't like mean anything anymore, because that's fairly assumed regardless that a character like that would show up eventually, you know, in one of these shows sometime. So it doesn't even really mean anything anymore. So that's kind of cool from the perspective of we're worried about story elements and things like that being a surprise, because you know that episode ends with that Wookiee showing up and you're like, oh, I can't wait for the next episode. But if you know a Wookiee showing up, you're like, oh, so that's the Wookiee that I already heard about or already saw pictures of. I've been waiting for it to show up in the show, and it's pretty cool. Speaking of other shows, though, Deadline recently reported that the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is going to get a new cast member. The person we're talking about is Maya Erskine, and she comes from the Hulu original comedy Pen 15. I don't know if you guys have seen the show or not, but it's pretty critically acclaimed. I think it's in its second or heading into third season, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a really good ad, in my opinion, as far as like the show and how she's involved with the show and coming into this. It's a big leap for her as well too, because I think that's what she's most known for. Lacey, I'm going to start with you on this one. What do you think about Obi-Wan Kenobi adding Maya Erskine?
Well, I don't know her very well, and I don't know her project that she's involved in on Hulu, but I like the idea that they're bringing in someone that isn't as known, even though she's critically, in a show that's critically acclaimed. Like, I don't know who she is. She's probably not mainstream yet. Like you said, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, so I'm really excited for her to be a part of Star Wars, and it's just really interesting that they're still adding people to this show. Like, you kind of figured when they made that big cast announcement that they're like, this is pretty much locked in, we're good. Yeah. So the fact that they're still adding people, it makes you wonder, like, who else is there to add, or who have they not announced? So there is that excitement about the Kenobi show. I don't know if I can be more excited about this show than I already am. Like, it's like every time we get the smallest announcement, I'm like, oh, this is like gonna be the best thing ever.
Sand will be making an appearance.
Oh my gosh, I haven't been this excited about a Star Wars project in a while. I think probably leading into, like, I love The Mandalorian, but it didn't have the same hype as like The Rise of Skywalker. Like, this to me is my next big project that I'm really, really hyped about, and I'm sure it's because of my childhood and the connection to the prequels and the connection to Ewan McGregor that I've been like wanting to see this project and all the buildup of the years of working on it. I just can't wait to see this happen, and I really, really hope they give us something on May the 4th, like a teaser, a message from Ewan, something. Like a picture of him in his robes, I'd die. I can't wait.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. You know, she actually has like a couple award nominations and other things like that. She's a writer on this show. She was nominated for an Emmy nomination is what I was trying to say, in 2019.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, John, what do you think about her coming in? Have you seen Pen 15 or have you been interested in it at all?
I have not. I've heard of it. I have not seen it, and I just got rid of Hulu, so that's a problem. But I'm going to put I think this might be my first book it of 2021. Let me put a book it out there. She is going to be a voice actor on this show, and it may be on the comedic side, maybe comic relief voice acting, in my opinion. So either she's going to be an alien or a droid of some kind.
Like L337?
Yeah, or like really most of the droid's purpose in these shows and movies is for that comic relief and just to ease the tension. Like, imagine Rogue One without K2SO. Like, that movie would have been so stressful, and he always was there to just like, that's funny, or, you know, like to ease the tension. And obviously C-3PO and R2 doing the Laurel and Hardy bit. But I say this because, you know, in looking at her filmography, like most of her acting work over the last 5 or 6 years is all voice work. And then, you know, I look at her bio and it says in November 2020, she confirmed she was engaged and also announced her pregnancy. So, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but if that's the case, then she's well into her pregnancy now. And I don't know that she'd be running around the galaxy doing stuff with Obi-Wan Kenobi in a live-action way. And then add to the fact she's a late add to the cast, which you can do for someone who'd be a voice slot. You have the character design structure all set, and you're looking for the right person to put a voice to it. And it would make sense because she is successful in the pop culture realm with that show you were talking about, Pen 15. It's very highly critically acclaimed. And again, she has background doing voice work. So you're bringing someone in with a diverse presence into this show to do that type of work. And so I don't think we're going to see her face on screen, but we're going to hear her voice. And again, this is just me speculating, of course, but just trying to connect the dots based on a lot of things, what she's got going on, her background with her work in terms of acting, and that, what this show may need right now. So I'm guessing that she's going to come in and do some voice work, whether it's an alien or a droid of some sort for the 3 episodes they're talking about here. And just based on her doing comedy work with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey, with Geffen Playhouse, my guess is she may have done that type of comedic work where she did a lot of lending her voice to stuff. She was on like BoJack Horseman doing voice work. So my guess, maybe a little comic relief alien droid type thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't considered that. When you first said it, I thought I would be surprised, considering I haven't watched this show, but when I saw the news, I immediately went to YouTube and started looking around for like the clips and stuff, like, oh, let me see her in a scene, let me pop in, not just a trailer where it's just like random clips, but like I want to see her act. And everything that I found seemed to be fairly dramatic, even though it's comedy based. It wasn't so much, it didn't seem like it was 100% like a comedy show. It seemed like there was like real heart to it. So you would need to really like land your acting chops or have good ones, So I was kind of surprised when you said that, but I think you're right on the late edition thing. Like if they were bringing this person in because they thought she would be great as an on-screen role, she would have been in that cast announcement initially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think you might be headed in the right direction at least. And, yeah, I hadn't looked and noticed that all her credits and stuff were acting as well, or voice acting, I should say. So that's cool. Yeah.
Like 2020, BoJack Horseman, Bob's Burgers, Crossing Swords, Robot Chicken, the Seth Green project that they still do, Big Mouth, and Blue Eye Samurai. All those projects are all voice, and then her last film acting credit was a voice acting role in Scoob.
Who was she in Scoob?
The latest. Judi Takamoto.
I don't remember that character.
I love that James immediately like, who is it?
Well, I've seen it like 3 times.
Was she
probably
Scooby-Doo?
more times because my son really was like into Scooby-Doo for
He's
a
into
hot
Scooby-Doo,
minute.
yeah.
Yeah. And so we rented that movie, and actually I ended up having to buy it, and I unfortunately bought it on Amazon, even though I buy everything on iTunes. It was a mess. I was trying to get them to refund me, but they wouldn't do it because I'd already watched it. I was like, all right, fine.
Looks like James needs to buy himself a Blu-ray.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would have helped a lot.
So I'm throwing the book it out there. Feel free to put egg on my face later if that doesn't come out to be true. But yeah, Maya Erskine, voice Kenobi.
Not a bad guess. Yeah. Hey, do you guys want to talk about Stellan Skarsgård?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he is in Andor. We already know that. He was announced a while ago, but the thing is that he was doing some press for actually I don't know what he was doing press for, but it was with the Daily Beast, and he was talking a little bit about his excitement for the upcoming series and Rogue One as a whole, as he went back and rewatched it and kind of had an opinion on how it lined up versus the rest of the Star Wars movies. And he had a lot to say, as he thought, because Tony Gilroy was heading the show and he really liked the movie and he thought everything was going to be pretty good. So he signed on and he's really excited about it. So did you guys like or see his comments? And was there anything specific that stood out to you? I guess we'll start with John. Did you see the stuff about him doing roles for his kids too?
Well, yeah. So what's interesting about him, I've liked him ever since Good Will Hunting, and he played the counterpart to Robin Williams' character, the Professor Jerry, who was the one who wanted Will to be what he wanted Will to be. I thought he did a great job in that movie, and that was my introduction to him as an actor. And I didn't know he was of European descent because he puts off, a Harvard whatever accent in that movie. And then, I believe, Lacey, hasn't he been in like Avengers, and he's been in like
their whole family's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, he's been in one of those movies, so he's not above, as an actor, above doing that type of genre
He
stuff.
was in Thor, and then they brought him in for Avengers, like the first main Avengers.
Okay.
Yeah.
He gets
he had the
taken
blue eyes
over
going
by
on.
Loki.
Yeah, he was the one smart enough to build the wormhole machine.
Though he does go down pretentious avenue here a little bit by saying like, Star Wars, whatever. But then I read the script for Rogue One, and it was very mature and very serious and stuff. And it almost sounded like those old interviews of Alec Guinness being like, "Well, yeah, it's science fiction, but it's very smart." And so
to quote him, he said, "So hopefully this one will be a little more than plastic people falling over."
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hear him say that stuff. Just shut up and play the role, man.
I feel like he's kind of joking, though. This whole interview to me reads very sarcastic and dry, which is very normal for people from Europe. Like their sense of humor is always like when we talked to John Powell, he's a very dry sense of humor. I read this as like he's joking around.
Yeah, you're right. Because then the line about the grandkids or whatever.
Well, he starts that what you were saying is that like almost like the like Rogue One was a little more mature, and that's like me, right? But then this very next sentence is, but I'm also not the most mature person myself. Right, so yes, I wanted to do it so I could go fly a spaceship.
Yeah, who doesn't want to go and fly a spaceship? Yeah.
So it was very contradictory, a couple of his statements, which led me to believe that he wasn't really being serious here. He was just kind of like, I like Rogue One because it was a little darker or something like that. But I feel of course I'm going to be in Star Wars.
There's something about Star Wars, even though to this day, like it's owned by Disney and it's this major, massive franchise, that it still has this outsider feel to it just because of its roots. And like George Lucas like rejected the idea of Hollywood, and he didn't want to have the studio buy out his thing, and he left the Directors Guild. And I feel like there's always going to be like Hollywood thumbing its nose at Star Wars just for that reason. Like, I don't know. It's just something that you can't wash off in terms of a perspective on things from the Hollywood view, I guess. And I don't know that that's him doing that, but you never hear people like saying that stuff about like Marvel. It's just always, I feel like with Star Wars, people always feel like they need to thumb their nose at it sometimes. I don't know why that's the case, but I agree with Lacey. He's probably just having a bit of fun here, or as the Brits would say, taking a piss. I don't know why they say that, but that's their term for making fun of things. But I like this guy. Good Will Hunting, great actor. So I'm down to see what he brings to the table, and I love not knowing what type of role he's going to play.
Yeah. I definitely think people do take steps at Marvel all the time, though, especially like the...
Oh, really?
Spielberg hates Marvel.
Yeah, well, there was the big... What was it?
Does he?
A Scorsese like controversy where he was going back and forth, back and forth with them. Even
that's fair. You're right.
Man,
You're
I can't think of his name right now, but there was an actor that recently like kind of turned his nose up at one of these other one of these shows, and then got cast in one like like a month later or something.
It's the idea that they're like
Ethan
kind of
Hawke.
cookie cutter machine, just churning them out movies, and they're losing the heart of what a lot of those movies and shows come from. Like, I think WandaVision was one that people kind of took a step back and were like, oh, this is like really serious, and this has very deep undertones that people didn't expect from a superhero show. But I think that that's where people are coming from. Whereas you have someone like Jon Favreau who's like, I'm here to make fun stuff, and you're going to have fun, and you're going to leave having fun. You might cry a little bit. You're going to want to hug your friends, but like, that's what I do. But you just get other people in the industry that are like, well, I'm here to make monumental, crazy movies that will change who you are. And they don't see Spider-Man as doing that, which is not true, but...
Yeah, it's all these movies are blockbusters, and they're pop culture. And so in that sense, like, it's like you're always going to have indie artists who don't like what's on the radio and what's popular and what's on MTV. That's always going to be the case. But it's oddly strange because those artists also want to grow their success.
Well, look at Adam
when
Driver.
they get bigger, they get to that point, and then they're kind of arguing, well, it's kind of, here or there, it kind of depends. I'm not making that music and stuff. Mine's a little different. And yeah, it's always kind of that thing. But
I think Adam Driver's a good example of someone that came up kind of the indie route, did a big thing, did Star Wars, and I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to go back to doing what I like to do, which is the indie, smaller movies.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's in smaller movies, though. Like,
I
they're
would
not
say
big
smaller as
budget
in
movies.
Not big budget, but they're still
Yeah.
kind of festival darlings, I would say.
And he did that play on Broadway, the small thing.
But they're not
that's true.
blockbusters. Like, he's gone away from the blockbuster. Like, he could probably be in any Marvel movie he wanted to be in. He could be in any Transformer movie if they really asked him.
He wants to win that Oscar is what he wants.
I think, I
Yeah.
think he wants to win the Oscar.
That's the
And
interesting
then once he wins that, he'll be like, Ben Solo's back, baby!
Because all his movies
My kid needs to
are
go to
pretty
college.
big. Like, everybody's paying attention to him when they drop.
World
and stuff.
between worlds!
Sure, absolutely. I totally agree with you, James. I'm saying, like, they're not big budget and they probably don't make that much money. Like, I wouldn't say his smaller movies make tons of money, but he does them because he likes to do them.
Especially since some of those are streaming service exclusives. Like, he had the one that was Amazon
Netflix,
only, and he had the one that was Netflix only. Yeah.
Oh, The Report, yeah.
Yeah, The Report and Wedding Story.
Marriage Story.
Marriage Story.
Oh, that movie is just... Do not watch that on
It was
like
a sequel to
Sunday night.
Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, right.
Wedding
A very
Story.
dark sequel. Yeah. What happens when the wedding's over? So it'd be funny like someone like Stellan Skarsgård, who's like just like this actor of actors, and like at the end of his life, or like he passes away one day when he's old, and they're like, Star Wars actor Stellan Skarsgård, and he's just like in his grave like, no, I don't want to be known for Star Wars. I did one episode of that damn show,
Yeah.
He kind of is always the bad guy, though. He has a bad guy look to him.
He did Chernobyl, which was
very
heavy.
Is it good?
Yeah,
Was
it's
it good?
very good.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
he
that's
also
another one.
he plays like the morally centered character, because he's got the government being like, cover this up, and he's got these other people that are like, everybody's gonna die, you have to do something, and he's like,
Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
He's the center. He's the person who has to make a lot of the decisions on, if we do the safe thing, then the news is going to get out and everybody's going to freak out about it. So I have to draw the line and say, no, you can't, you can't do this thing, because so they say less, and then less, those people die or whatever. Yeah, it's he had like a really hard, terrible job.
We're naming all these dark.
That sounds like your
shows.
nightmare, James. That
Yeah.
job in particular is
it
James'
absolutely
nightmare.
would be, because I'd have to make decisions that matter. I
can
like making
hear- I can
decisions
hear
about
your
like when the podcast comes out.
I could
I'm
hear
like,
the
"It
anxiety
doesn't
as you're
matter. None of it.
explaining
None
the
of it
role of
matters."
what this fake character had to do. I could hear you being like, and then he had to, oh my god, and I don't know
Yeah.
what he's gonna do.
Basically,
I'm also trying to
prepping
remember
for
like specifics of the show, because it was a
our
while ago.
podcast panel, a celebration, is basically what this guy's job was in Chernobyl.
Yeah,
It was James that like preparing to get our podcast panel ready.
yeah. That disaster wouldn't have happened if somebody had an XLR cable.
So James, it's funny. He's from Sweden. I said Europe. That's the
I
same
said
thing.
Europe, yeah.
Yeah. Anytime a white actor from Europe is cast in Star Wars, people are like, Imperial. Guy's Imperial. But watch him just be like a bartender. He just wants to do Star Wars because his grandkids want him to do Star Wars or something. Like, we never know, but immediately when it's white man from Europe, we're all like, I could see him being an Imperial officer.
And yeah, it's weird because I hadn't thought of that. I've pictured him as like a Lor Santeca, kind of a wise individual.
That's what I
that has
mean.
to be.
I
you have
immediately
to
put him in
consult
Empire.
him. You put him in the Empire? Interesting.
I immediately put him as a commander or a general or something. Like, he has
That's
that
always
look.
our first.
Weird.
Yeah, that's always our first.
There's certain
direction,
actors
and
that
then-
have a look, and to me, he looks like a bad guy. I'm sure he's very nice, and in his interview, he's hilarious, but
Yeah.
he has that bad guy look.
Yeah.
Like, his line about being a toy someday is hilarious, where he's like, F yeah, go play with dad. Don't disturb him. Just go play with him.
Right. Right.
I mean,
on,
the
that's
guy's
the ultimate
in
dream.
the
is
Avengers, you know,
Yeah,
so he's got to play around a little bit with the big blockbuster fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the ultimate dream for anyone is to be a Star Wars action figure.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious
Absolutely.
if those were hints, though, because they don't make them about, you know, the bartender doesn't fly a spaceship, which was he giving a hint there that he does fly a spaceship? They don't make a action figure of the bartender either, you know, or like
I think
this character,
he's being
that character.
cheeky,
So I think
because
he is
the beginning
too.
of his interview, he's just like, they could shoot me if I say anything. So
Yeah.
I don't think he'd let something slip.
Right.
Only because that's what he starts with, is like, I'm not allowed to say anything.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess that's probably right. I just thought the go fly a starship thing was kind of funny, or spaceship, because I was like, that's something you feel like, even if that was something that your character does in the show,
It's
you
a
could probably
specific
say, and it's
Job,
like
yeah.
it's just a throwaway line. But for him, he's like, yeah, doesn't everybody fly spaceships in the show in Star
Nah,
Wars?
dog.
You know, it's like no, no, they don't.
Between
Just you.
him and Maya Erskine, I don't know if it's Erskine or Erskine, but it feels like there's this template, and they're like Kathleen Kennedy or Michelle Redjwan go to like they're casting people, and they're like,
Or Tony.
find here's your parameters. Last 5 years, someone was either a showrunner for a streaming show, or they acted in a streaming show or straight to television show, and they won an award, or their show has a plus 97% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics and audience. Go get me someone, and they're going to be in our Star Wars. Because it's just like between Leslie Headland, this guy, Maya Erskine, who I can't remember, I will lock her name in my brain. It's just like they're bringing in people that people like, that are very popular in that sphere, and it seems to be where they're landing people.
I think they're just, I mean, if you look, I'm going to go back to this again because it's a good example. Adam Driver, he was super popular with girls, and they just asked him. I think it's just something that you look at projects that are doing really well.
Kathleen Kennedy, I agree with the girls thing, but Kathleen Kennedy said, I think in an interview, she saw him in Lincoln and the Spielberg movie, and said like, I don't know who that kid is.
JJ knew him from Girls. And so
Yeah.
they, from my understanding, is he didn't even audition. They were like, do you want this role or not?
Yeah, I mean, like,
He's like, I guess.
don't forget, like when I was in the band, a little inside baseball there, like when you're getting ready to put on a tour, you send out the email that says, we're going on tour and we're looking for an opener, a 2 of 5, a 3 of 5, and a main support, you know? And you get the emails back, and people, they your manager or whatever will submit it all, and then they just send you the list, and you look at the list, and you can see all the bands that submitted to be your direct support. And sometimes it's surprising. You're like, whoa, Slipknot wanted to be our main support or whatever. You know, it's like they think they're smaller than us or something, you know? So sometimes it's really interesting. You put out the call for the shows, and it's going to be a list of people that you look at the list and say, oh, Adam Driver, that's a good get. That's cool. We like that idea. You know, it's not
Did you know
always
that,
like, go get me someone who does this. You know, it's more like Adam's working hard, or his management is working hard to get him the right jobs and submit him for the right stuff, you know? So when you make the list and somebody sees it, they go, I want that guy. That guy looks good, or whoever, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Did you know that Slipknot played the Knights of Ren? Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, they did. That's pretty cool.
Exclusive reveal.
Three members
Is that
were
a
missing.
joke? Did you really hold on to that for 2 minutes while James was talking?
They're going to be in. They're going to be in the Fast.
He kept
9
trying to
saga.
interrupt you, James, with that joke. Oh my gosh.
All right, well, that's pretty much it for the main stories this week. There were a couple other
good
things
joke.
that we want to talk about really fast, and that is that there is if you want to check it out, there's a new Thrawn Ascendancy Greater Good excerpt that came out. Now, granted, the book comes out tomorrow, so tomorrow expect on our channel to be a what happened in the Greater Good novel, and then also like just a general book discussions between me and Kyle on that particular novel. But if you're excited for it and you didn't see it already, there is an excerpt if you want to go check it out and read a little bit from it. Last thing, and this was just kind of interesting, is that there was some everybody who works on these films, like the big ones, there is all sorts of concept arts, and every once in a while somebody will drop a little like thing here and there, like, hey, check this out. They never used it. It's kind of cool. But with this particular piece of artwork that was what do you call it, like
Concept art.
Concept art. That's the word I'm looking for. I couldn't come up with it. It was attached with the section that was said, hey, this was part of a story for Force Awakens that never really ended up happening. And Rey was going to go find the creator of the Millennium Falcon design and stuff. And she had to look for some stuff. And the person that they were eyeing for that role was Judi Dench. And it was just kind of intriguing and interesting. I also don't know how this person knew that, unless they said, hey, we're eyeing this character, draw her into the art or something. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool.
Well, it's probably like a draw a Judi Dench looking person, and then we'll try to get her, But in my opinion, this is a good cut. I didn't like hearing any part of this.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me because leading up to was it The Last Jedi? I'm losing track of when things happened. Whenever she was doing Orient Express with Judi Dench, like they were doing videos with her. So you can't tell me that a dinner didn't happen between her and J.J. Abrams and Josh Gad, because J.J. was in the later version of the joke video with Chris Pratt and Anne Hathaway, or not Anne Hathaway, like a bunch of other people. So there is no surprise to me that if this was a conversation that took place, because Josh and Daisy said to JJ, Judy wants to be in Star Wars. Can we get her into Star Wars? And they just couldn't make it work. That would not be a surprise. The only thing that kind of stinks about stuff like this when it comes out is you either like it or you don't. That's fine. But it's kind of like a what else was left on the table, which is always bothering me because I don't like ambiguity. I don't like open-ended things. I like things to be very closed and done. So anytime they're like, well, this could have happened or this could have happened and here's another completely different script of what could have happened, you're like, I don't want to see any of that because that's not what happened. And it's just the anxiety.
Yeah, in a weird way. Not exactly, but in a weird way, that's also kind of like why I don't dip my toe in Legends stuff. Because I'm like, it's just the different... It's not that it's wrong or it's like the correct version or anything like that. It's just different. And I don't want to like get mixed up on stories and stuff. And at this point, like there's enough like canon Star Wars coming out that I don't really need to go back and revisit some of those stories. As good as they are, it's just going to like mix me up and stuff. So it sometimes it's weird when I hear stories like this, because my first thought is that, I don't know, like that could have... Maybe that could have happened or something, like maybe it wasn't told in the movie, but like canonically it did happen or something. Yeah, it's
there's
weird.
No, I know, for a
but
movie
we
that
don't
they
need
needed. For a movie they needed to put so much in to wrap stuff up. You did not need like hey, I built this model of the YT-1300.
I guarantee that if this is accurate and is true, which I believe it is, but if it is true, it's because at some point a conversation took place where Judy was like, I'd love to be in a Star Wars movie. And they were like, can we make this work? And it ultimately was like, sorry, we can't.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Because she was just involved with Daisy and with Josh and those videos.
Yeah, that was the lead up to, that was before TLJ.
Yes.
He was asking her about Rey parents.
Reylo and because she asked about Reylo as the big joke.
Yeah. I don't
All right.
care
Well,
who built the Falcon.
That's it for Resistance Report this week. Lacey, you want to take us into our next section? What's up?
Yeah, so guys, it is time for the Patreon pod race. So there are lots of different ways you can support us. You can like this video, comment, subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. That's nice. Lots of other different apps. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN or on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. If you want more from us, including exclusive content, mailings, much more, you can head over to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Starting at $2 a month, you support the show, so you support what we're doing, what we plan to do for the rest of this year and into next year, where hopefully things are going to get back to a little bit more of a normal situation where we can all hang out and go to events and travel and whatnot. So we're really excited. We're planning stuff already, so it's going to be fun. That being said, this is the segment where we let generals be a part of the show, our top tier, where we ask them a question and they give us an answer and we discuss. So before we do that, we're going to thank our generals. So thank you, CARMELO, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, NEEL SHAH, David PROBUS, John RISI, MICAH Harrison, JETTA ROSEWATER, Michael Gaines, KENDALL GELNER, Paul OLSEN, Jake HOUCHINS, Jeff Connery, Oliver Lewis, Dave HORNAK, Frank Grande, Ryan Wara, Haas Aslam, and Val Trichkoff. I think it's Haas.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. My bad. But now you're in the club of names that I've pronounced wrong, so welcome. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate your support so much. This week we have General Andrew, one of our OG generals. He's here, and we asked him the question, what is your favorite Star Wars trailer of all time and why? Andrew, take it away.
Great question, guys. My favorite trailer is the trailer from The Rise of Skywalker. Because I was at Star Wars Celebration in 2019, I was in the panel at the Wintrust Arena, saw it live as it happened worldwide, saw the name of the movie unveiled right at the end, and Ian McDiarmid come out again. It was just an amazing moment and was something I was very, very lucky to be a part of. Ever since I saw the panel from Anaheim in 2015 for The Force Awakens, I really wanted to be a part of something like that. And I got really lucky to be in the room and to see it as it happened. It was just an amazing experience. And every time I watch that trailer, I think of all the memories from Celebration and the excitement of watching that for the first time. And it was just something that will always stick with me. And it's just a wonderful memory. And it was just an exciting weekend. And that brings it all back every time I watch that. So thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate the question. It was awesome. And may the Force be with you.
Nice job, Andrew. Great answer. I was in the room too. It was nuts. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. When Palpatine came out, I was just like yelling nonstop. So it was really cool. I think it's so fun that you brought up 2015 because I actually posted a video about it last week. When they showed that trailer and just the reaction to it. Like, it's something that I'll never forget. So I'm so glad that you got to experience that for yourself in 2019 with The Rise of Skywalker, because it's definitely something that's going to stick with you for a long time. So John, what did you think?
Yeah, I love this answer because you could see the memories coming back in Andrew's face as he's talking about them. Like, he animated himself in a way of reliving those moments, and I love that. I also love that you have the posters there. So you have the TLJ and the Rise of Skywalker one. I believe you have them all wrapped around the room there. But I think what I like most about your answer is sort of, the experience leading up to these movies. For me, is a part of how I also like the movies. Like, it's all together in one big package. And leading up to TFA, I felt that way. TLJ, Solo, Rogue One, The Rise of Skywalker. Being at Celebration. Me and James there in that sea of people on the show floor, just going bananas, doing that whole thing. And experiencing that trailer, getting emotional, doing the final trailer. We actually did a reaction video for that, and I'll never forget that part. And just the whole build up to all this stuff is a part of loving that movie, and that's a part that nobody can ever take away from you, and part of your enjoyment of that movie. And it looks like you feel the same way about that. So I love this answer. I like that is the trailer for you, and great job as always, Andrew. Thanks for your support, and see you soon, buddy.
James?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot I can add that isn't, the same thing, basically. So my thoughts just immediately is it's hard to compete with a trailer where you have such a crazy experience attached to it. So I understand this entirely. Like, it's like when somebody says, like, what was your favorite, movie theater Star Wars experience? And like for John and Lacey or something, it's like, well, I did get to go to the premiere of one. It's like that immediately like tops all the other ones. It's just difficult to compete with. And when you're in that environment and you get to see it with like so many fans in a room and everybody screaming and stuff like that, yeah, it just immediately has got to be like your top number one, despite the quality of the trailer, how they delivered things, or the notes or the music or something like that. But it's a true answer. It's a good answer. Yeah, very good. Thank you for submitting the pod race this week, General Andrew. Thank you.
This is going to sound so lame, but the most fun I had was eating McDonald's McNuggets after the fact. That was my favorite part.
After the trailer reveal?
No, like at the premiere after the movie. Like watching the movie was great, but people didn't react as crazy as I had seemed. Like people were more genuine in their reactions in the theater when we saw it with you, James, than when the people that we saw it in the movie theater at the premiere, which is not surprising. But
yeah, because everybody's there to not only
enjoy the
review it, but also they're too cool for school because we're all here at the exclusive
right.
thing.
Whereas
Yeah.
the other thing, like when I saw The Force Awakens in 2015 in a theater in Trumbull, Connecticut, like people were just going nuts because it was Star Wars was back. It's like different. Anyway, Andrew, thank you so much. You're so awesome. We love having you in the community. I hope your cats are well because they're the best part. You're awesome, but the cats are great too. Anyway, now we're going to head to John for something a little different.
Yeah, so we usually do Ask the Resistance around this time of the show, but Star Wars, it doesn't have a lot of content coming out right now, so we're not always going to do questions every week. So sometimes we're just going to, walk this thing out by just having a little bit of a chat to wind us down from everything we just talked about. Like almost like a open chat type of thing, and let us know what you think about that. So let us know if you prefer that, or if you prefer the questions. Let us know, because we always want to make sure you guys are happy out there. So one thing I just thought of just to bring up to you guys in terms of, especially Lacey, I know seeing you go through the Hasbro event thing and how, merch is still a very big thing with Star Wars. One thing that I was thinking about, because I was watching old videos of when like the Phantom Menace figures came out, and like seeing like people mobbing Toys R Us, and seeing like Leonardo DiCaprio online at Toys R Us at midnight to go get the new Star Wars figures. Like, is like video stores, is that era just gone just because of online purchasing, pre-orders, all this stuff? Like, is the magic of hunting gone now? Because I've been to a store recently, like a Walmart or whatever, and there's nothing. So I'm just like, you're more dialed in than me and James, and we could go on a tangent here for the next 10 minutes with other things, but I just wanted to start there because I was thinking about, is that magic gone? Like, is my son not going to feel that joy of figure hunting and that sort of thing, assuming he likes Star Wars? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's tough because in the past year with COVID, a lot of the stores and shopping experiences moved to online. And they've moved to online retailers like Amazon, like Target.com for exclusives. So it's tough to get the figures that you want. Like if you look back at the 90s, end of 90s, 99, and then early 2000s, it was a different experience because they just made crazy amounts of these toys. And there were always the pegs were always full, like you could find what you wanted. It is not the same now. Like they only make so many of these figures. They only make so many of different ones. They're really rare. I think the model has turned more into the collecting and selling than the collecting itself. And if you really want a figure, like you have to fight for it online. Otherwise you're out of luck. Finding them in the stores is rare. And when I've gone into stores, like I have a Target by me that I go to all the time, it's always a very empty section. There's not that much stuff there.
Yeah.
There's maybe pop figures, which are pretty easy to get. But Black Series or vintage collection, stuff like that, there is not a lot there. And I don't know if that's changed over the course of the years. I think looking back in 2015 when The Force Awakens was coming out, there were so many toys. There were so many toys for The Force Awakens. And then The Last Jedi, there were less. There were still a lot, but there were less. And then The Rise of Skywalker, it was like there was nothing. Like it was the end display and that's it. And then Force Awakens, it used to be like a whole aisle. And now it's like a section of probably like however high the display is, but it's like what, 3 feet? Like 3 to 5 pegs wide.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I understand, and James, I know you bring up the fact that, probably a lot of this physical retail store type of stuff is getting phased out in a sense, right?
Sort of.
I think it's a distribution problem too, because you have people at the store selling toys behind the scenes, taking pallets before they hit the floor, stuff like that.
Well, before you get into it, John, like one thing that I think from this angle is that part of the fun there was being able to be a crazy person. Like, I'm crazy, and I know I'm crazy because I'm going to go get up at 3 a.m. and stand in line for this said thing. And I think that will always exist because they won't always make it the only way to get something, because that just doesn't make sense in today's online world. But I think that if you find the right groups and you find the right things, like for instance, I'm an Apple person. Like I've found it. I've made my choices every once in a while, depending on the product. Like if I want to buy it online and just have it shipped here because I'm not really worried about it, or if like I'm really excited about it or something, I'll go for it. And I want to be like one of the first people that gets it. So I'll go down to the place and I'm down there with all the crazies and we're up there at 3 a.m. And when we get it, you or when they come out and they open up the doors, everybody, and it's just fun. That's an experience you're never going to get online. So I feel like it's always going to exist in some way. But I just don't know I don't know how much Star Wars it's ever going to be as far as like a big public thing anymore, that everybody wants those Star Wars toys.
The last one was The Last Jedi was the last one that I went to. That was like a big deal and they had prizes. And even in that one, it was like me and 7 dudes. Like it wasn't like a big thing. Like I feel like The Force Awakens was a big deal.
Well, that was the same thing with the prequels too. The Phantom Menace was just insane and they almost went too far with it. And then the Attack of the Clones, people were like, meh.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like all these experiences, like I remember going to, like, I was a big Power of the Force collector, and I would remember like either like going to Toys R Us or going to the Walmart or whatever and looking, because the pegs weren't all like there's one character, there's 2. You like would look through the characters and look for, one, maybe some wise guy kid like didn't have the money, so he hid this one in the back. And you go to find, you're like, oh my god, I just found a Return of the Jedi Luke. And it wasn't always a guarantee to get the figure you wanted, because you didn't have, like, it was just like when you didn't have cell phones, like you didn't know where someone was going to be, you just had to expect them to be there. You felt that way about your action figures, like, I hope they have that action figure. Whereas today, you're right, Lacey, they make limited supplies, but if you want them and you have the money, you can find your action figure now because of the internet, where back in the day it was the adventure of finding. You're right, and I get that, but I guess the romance is gone of like the journey of finding your action figures, the same way of like, I stood in line with my friends and skipped school to buy tickets for the Phantom Menace outside of our theater, and I'll never forget that day, and kids today will never experience that. And it's just like that weird thing that, like, we love technology and we love what it affords us in terms of being able to have access to doing a lot of things, but it also saps a lot of some of the beauty of what it was like being a fan in a certain period of time. Not to like completely date us here.
It's so interesting though, because we still have those experiences. My wife was trying to get something from like this indie shop dealer or something like that, and we'd been, every time we go in, it's available. Click, 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 buy. Oh, it's gone already. And it goes that fast. So then, like, I literally,
you're not talking with people. Like,
no,
it's almost
listen to the story though. It's like we did finally get one when we were having a gathering and they were going to do a new release around the time. So it was my mother-in-law, my wife, my sister-in-law, and her husband, and me, and my father-in-law were all on there, and we got 2. Because it was like, I got a blue one, like kind of thing, and we were all excited about it. It's not the same thing, and I could see somebody being like, well, I know when I place those Apple pre-orders sometimes, it's like my computer, my other computer, and my phone, and I'm like doing all 3 at the same time.
It's like Star Wars tickets, like Celebration tickets, Celebration Hotel. It's the same thing.
It's kind of a different experience.
I go to the store for other stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's Star Wars.
Also, I would love to see Lacey throwing elbows at those guys trying to get the Last Jedi.
Oh my god. So this is before you guys knew me with The Last Jedi. When I went to that event, I was in line. I was the 3rd person in line, standing there. And Alex Backus from Black Series Rebels told me to look for the Executioner Stormtrooper, the guy with the like the electro staff blade thing that tries to execute Rose and John Boyega. Okay. So I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll look for it. Like, I didn't want it, but they wanted it. So we're in line, and it's me and these other people, and they're all nice. We're just chit-chatting. This bro shows up, like, right when it opens, pushes past everyone, and gets the one stormtrooper that they had. I was so angry. And he clearly was a scalper too. Like, you just know. Everyone knows as collectors. Like, you know those guys. And he won the gigantic porg that they gave away. Those stupid, big, gigantic porgs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but guess what? Now that guy's stuck with that thing.
It was just one of those things that, like, all of us were looking at him like, hey, man, stop. And he was just like, yo, what's your problem? And, like, you're not going to fight this guy in a public store, but, like... Because I was by myself. If I was with someone, maybe. But I was just, like, really annoyed. And I've never been so annoyed. I'm all about, like, treating others how you want to be treated. Oh, my gosh. He literally shoved me out of the way to get to this toy. And I was like, it's not that important.
And now look at Alex Backus. He's just trying to sell all of his Black Series anyway.
I know.
What a few years can do.
Well, he has a baby now. No, he doesn't have a baby yet. He's
Steve
married.
has a baby. Yeah. Steve has a baby. All right. Well, this was cool. This was an interesting little, fun little way to have a little open chat.
Speaking of toys, by the way, one of the best things that ever happened to me was The Force Awakens. Before it came out, Walmart, they put out a Stormtrooper before they were supposed to come out. And I found it, and I rang it up, and the alarms start going off because they're not supposed to sell them yet. And it was a self-checkout, and the lady comes over, looks at it, and goes, whatever, and put it through. So I bought a Stormtrooper before anybody else, like a month and a half early.
Whoa. Wow.
So
what, did she get fired for doing that?
I don't know. It was like the Norwalk Walmart.
Like, Phasma walks up to her and has her submit her blaster for inspection. And
you know, it's funny, though. You hear those stories all the time of, like, people letting people buy stuff early, or, like, people hiding toys in the back. I had an experience at my Target where the guy was hiding the Forces of Destiny's figures in the back.
That's an old like I was saying. People
and
do
the
techniques,
electronics guy looked it up in his little system because I had the ID code. Because now you can get even more clever and get, like, the actual barcode for the item. So he looked it up and he's like, "Oh yeah, we got like 3 in the back. Let me get the guy." And so he calls the guy out, which his name is Ben. I know you, Ben. And he calls the guy out, and then the guy starts yelling at the electronics guy, and he's like, "Don't tell people about stuff. If you have any questions, you find me. You don't tell them." And, like, yelled at this kid from the electronics section because he was holding toys in the back.
Ben.
I was so mad.
Ben!
Anyway, sorry, I digress. Those are my crazy toy stories.
No. Do you have any other stories, James?
I thought I had one a minute ago, and now I've already forgotten.
You can't top. It's hard to top a Gilleran Toy Story. That's for sure.
Yeah.
My San Diego Toy Stories are crazy, but they're not Star Wars ones. I didn't have any. I went to
Target with Lacey once. It's
and they had nothing when we went there.
No.
Remember? We were like, "Oh, let's see what they got." They had nothing.
It wasn't a significant story, but I remember what it was that I was thinking about, which was when we worked at Guitar Center and Black Friday was coming up. A lot of times we had things in stock that we couldn't put out, and it was always really annoying because I understood that perspective, but also sometimes people would be like, "I need this thing, man. Do you have any in stock?" And I'm like looking at like 30 behind the counter, and I'm like, "Nope." Like, nothing I can sell you, and I know you want it, or I know you need it. But, like, it's off limits, and I know that I could probably do it because I could put in my password or something, but I'm just going to have to report to my boss later why I sold that thing, you know?
What if James from Celebration met James at Guitar Center and was like, "I need this thing for this Celebration panel," and you, James, at Guitar Center was like, "I can't give it to you, man," and you, the other James, was like, "Man, I really need this."
Yeah.
It'd be like Superman 3.
It would have been fine.
Would you have sold yourself the item behind the counter?
Would I have had to have driven James's crap car through the streets of Chicago with his bum GPS?
Rude.
He got rid of the car. He's got a new nice car now. It's okay. If his car was nice, he would have kept it.
I currently have
saying.
2 cars sitting in my driveway because I am so sad to get rid of my car.
Oh, your Honda?
Yeah.
Oh, I figured you got rid of that.
No, it's sitting in my driveway and I'm paying insurance on it like a moron.
Oh man, that sucks.
Unbelievable. I'm gonna have someone come steal it. All right. This was cool. So let us know if you guys like when we have these little sort of more casual open chats at the end, or if you want the Ask the Resistance every week. But either way, I thought this was interesting. But again, thank you everyone for listening and watching, being a part of TRB. Make sure you do subscribe to the show, as I said at the top. Whatever your preferred platform is, get there, sign up. Also, send a link to a friend. Do the copy, share, send it to a friend who likes Star Wars. Because as we talked about in Resistance Report, there's not a lot of Star Wars coming out now, but there's a lot of Star Wars being made now. And like Lacey said, we're doing a lot of big planning for next year for the podcast. And we're expecting to have a very big year next year. So get on board. Tell your friends. It's always better when you bring friends aboard and enjoy things together. Make sure you go to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. And James Baney's debut on Star Wars Newsnet coming out soon. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, writing and editing at Star Wars Newsnet, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We're doing Major League coming out tomorrow because I need fictional baseball because my Yankees stink.
Wow.
James Baney, what about you?
Twitter and Instagram at Meyer Trunks, and also, like I said, if you missed it earlier, tomorrow, what happened in the Thrawn novel, Greater Good, and also just a general book discussion with Kyle Larson from Star Wars Newsnet on that particular book. So yeah, spoilers on both, actually. Well, actually, the book discussions one is a review until we get into spoilers, and we'll let you know. So if you just want the review or you want a kind of an opinion on it, we will start with that and then get into spoilers. We'll let you know.
And also May the 4th, you got a new little side show coming out, right?
Yes, the Bad Batch reaction show. So check that out. We'll see how it goes.
Nice. Nice. Lacey, what are you up to? Where are you at?
I have nothing, but you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran.
Usually Lacey's the one with all the stuff.
Yeah, Lacey's
I am not.
the busy one.
Yeah, you
I am
are. You got
never.
Lacey's Outpost and like the Hasbro stuff.
Hasbro
Nah.
stuff. They have
Schmodown
Lacey on
stuff.
speed
I'm not
dial.
on Schmodown
Hasbro-
stuff. Y'all are doing that stuff.
I have
Yeah,
nothing.
That's true.
However, I'm gearing up for May the 4th and hoping that I finally get my lightsaber.
Yeah, that'll
That's
be
true.
good.
What would you do if they don't reveal that on May the 4th? Will you be like, okay, or will you?
I'm going
Go
to keep
postal.
tweeting about it, and hopefully it happens eventually.
Right on. Hopefully it's May the 4th. I hope you get your lightsaber sooner than later.
Otherwise, Yak Face has been lying to me because he
Release
says it's been
the
happening.
gold.
So would his name be Whackface then?
Well, I don't want to make fun of him. He's not wrong yet.
No, I'm kidding. No, that guy's great at what he does. Appreciate
But
him.
he did tease that it's happening, so
Yeah. But you know what's funny? You can walk, like, I have no idea what that guy looks like. I don't even know if it's a guy. He could walk by me at Celebration. I have no idea who he is. Yak face.
I mean, a lot of accounts are like that.
Yeah. Yeah, true. We have to start wearing, like, masks and stuff. I feel like that's big now.
Speaking of Slipknot,
Slipknot. Yeah. All right. We will be back Thursday where we're going to have fun with a Kessel Run, bringing that back, where we're going to do the 12 best Star Wars characters that only appeared in one movie. So put your list together and join us on Thursday. But until then, enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you next time right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.